Nittany Nation, we are live again on this Tuesday night, bringing you the nightcap here on the Voice of College Football.
Let's go, boys and girls. Another one of the books here. How we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I think we're going to follow up our offense-driven show of last week with a defensive-driven show this week.
I like it.
Talk some more actual football instead of people.
Set of people.
And where they're going to go.
I do like it. I think we got some exciting things to talk about with Jim Knowles' defense and obviously old Coach Franklin, what he's going to be bringing as well. So before we do that, though, we do have a little bit of recruiting news.
Yeah. Over the weekend, we did land 2 commits, 2 4-stars, offensive lineman, and a defensive end. Always nice to build up those trenches.
Excited for that. Tyson, I'm excited for the defensive side. This boy Tyson Harley, 6'4", 270. Man, the boy is a dog. All right, so I'm excited to see what he can do for us.
And if I remember right, that was one of the guys that Dylan kind of put us onto too.
I believe that is correct. So shout out to Dylan.
Right. We'll always give Dylan kudos here. But yeah, looking at the defense, I mean, defense led the team last year, was kind of the driving force in the run last year. And now they bring in Jim Knowles, who's known as the best defense coordinator in college football. The one thing I'm kind of excited for this season is it seems we got a dude at like every level of the defense.
It really kind of does. You kind of just took the words out of my mouth. Like, I think we've got a couple dogs in every position.
Yeah. We got DDS and Zane Durant on the defensive line. So we got 2 dogs on the defensive line. We got Tony Rojas and Dom DeLuca in the linebacker. We also have the transfer coming in too from North Carolina.
That kid had 76 tackles last year.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be good for us, and let Rojas do what he does, because he's kind of like the X factor back there. I feel like in the linebacker core, like DeLuca's like your even Steven kind of guy,
right?
And Rojas is there to like blow stuff up and make the plays.
Yep, and the new guy, Amari Campbell was his name. I wanted to look that up really quick. He had 76 tackles. Amari Campbell from North Carolina, 6.5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss on top of that. In the ACC, which I there's some respectable talent in the ACC.
Yeah, I feel like Penn State's not going to bring in a guy that's just going to just be there to be there. Like,
no. Especially on the defensive side.
Yeah. And then especially at linebacker if you're going to bring in a linebacker, dude's going to play.
Yeah.
And then on the outsides at corner, we got AJ Harris and Elliott Washington. AJ Harris, I mean, he could be the first Penn State corner to go first round, is what it's looking like.
He's literally he only had 1 pick, but I mean, I've always said the one thing about a DB is the less you hear a DB's name, the better he's probably doing. You barely heard that dude's name ever being called.
Yeah. Like I'd rather have the guy that shuts down the opposing team's best wide receiver, where they're too scared to even go that side of the field. Like Revis Island. Revis didn't have that many interceptions because they just didn't even go that way.
It's like, why bother?
Yeah. So, like, I'd rather have that kind of guy because then you could put all your other assets on the other side of the field. You could scheme away from him, basically.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You take away, like you said, you take away half of the field.
Yeah. If you just leave him on his island over there, let him take care of what he's taking care of, it just gives you more guys to take up more area and cover more people and make plays.
I like it. I agree completely.
And then in the safety, we got Zakee Wheatley coming back, and that kid's good. He's one of my favorites on this defense.
96 stops with 3 interceptions. I mean, you want to talk about a workhorse.
Yeah, he kind of had his coming out party in the Big Ten championship and the playoff run we had, where he went to that next level.
I'm curious who's going to shine as the other side. I'm playing on the other safety now. I'm very curious about that because we've got DeJuan Lane and we've got Zion Tracy. So not sure who of those two is going to be the one that I want to see. I mean, or you never know. Might be safety by committee.
We also brought in, we brought back King Mack, who transferred to Alabama and transferred back this year. He's one of the fastest kids in college football, King Mack.
That'll be interesting to see. Actually.
So I mean, not only can he fly in the field as a safety, like he might actually be adding something to like punt return and that type of thing.
I'm saying special teams wins games. Would love to see. I love nothing but seeing a little spark plug in the back in the catching punts or kickoff returns, just going. Shoo.
It'll be interesting to see who Jim Knowles puts in his. Every defense coordinator has like that special position. Like I'm pretty sure Tom Allen called it the lion position last year. And, Manny Diaz had that special position where it's just a player that, all over the field, basically.
Just let him cook. You just let him run. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm wondering if it's going to be Zion Tracy, like you said.
I wouldn't be. I mean, the dude produced throughout the year. And, I mean, you throw him in the nickel. I mean, it's basically all he would have to do is like, okay, just be a game wrecker.
Yeah, I mean, he blew the roof off of Beaver Stadium in the Ohio State game when, first quarter he picked 6 Ohio State, took it to the house, ended up being our only touchdown, but
it was an electric touchdown.
Yeah, like absolutely took the roof off that stadium early and got the crowd into it. So I mean, he's one of those players you got to watch out for to make plays, and especially if he's going to be in that. I'm not sure what Knowles is going to call that position this year. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're already. It has to be. If we look far deep enough, we can find it.
Yeah, but coming back to Jim Knowles, he's. I don't want to call him a journeyman because he's staying a few years at every place. Because he came over from Oklahoma State to Ohio State, and kind of where he made his money was making that Oklahoma State defense a top 5 defense in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And then,
not to mention that what he did at Ohio State as well. He just turned them into a national championship defense.
Yeah. Like I got some numbers here. So he hired in at Ohio State for the 2022 season. So in 2021, they were the 38th ranked defense. So middle of the road, basically. Sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there.
Not up to Ohio State standards.
No.
That's for sure. And his first year, he improved them from 38 to 24th. So, not only did he implement an entirely new scheme, but he improved that defense. And then in his second year, they went all the way up to number 2 for total defense.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, obviously, last year, I think they ended up with number 1 total defense.
And now he's going into a situation where he's inheriting the number 7 ranked defense in the nation.
Yeah, it's
not
a situation he's came into.
He's walked into dumpster fires, and now it's just like I think we said it a couple weeks ago. What's going to be his shiny plaything, and we've kind of brought it up today too. Like he has all these new toys that he has to play with. It's not like he has to go in there like, all right, let me just completely 86 everything that you guys are doing because it didn't work. No, whatever you guys were doing was definitely working. Now we're just going to make it better.
Right. And what does he do to make it better? I mean, when Ryan Day hired him in at Ohio State, he said he was going to be the head coach of the defense. And that's kind of what James Franklin's always preached. He wants a guy to be a head coach of the offense and a guy to be head coach of the defense, so he can be the CEO and just overlook everything.
Right.
Jim Knowles definitely fits the mold of, hey, you're the head coach of this defense. Like, it's yours. Do what you want with it and take it to that next level, even though that next level is not that far away.
No, and I just, it's going to be so interesting on the count that just, he, like, watching him with last year with Ohio State, just that defense was so electric. And so for him to be able to just come into a situation now, I mean, is there any reason why Penn State doesn't have the number one defense in college football this year?
The only thing I can see them holding them back is it is a new scheme, but like we kind of talked about last week, he's adapting the terminology from what's already been there.
Yep.
So he's adapting to the team. So I don't think the learning curve is going to be there as bad as it was like the first couple years at Oklahoma State or the first year at Ohio State. Like, we shouldn't hit that learning curve, especially when our first 3 games are against Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova.
Right.
Like, that should give us plenty of game reps to get over any learning curve that was there.
And that also being said, we may have been the 7th ranked defense in the nation, but we were 4th in the Big Ten also. So a lot of room for improvement internally, you know, on the grand scheme. Like, on paper, oh, look, we're 7th. And then you look, oh, who are 3 of those teams in front of you? Oh, well, that's a problem.
Yeah. And, you know, how much does he help with Penn State playing against Ohio State this year? That's going to be one of the biggest things with Jim Knowles this year is which way does that battle go? Is it Ohio State knows what Jim Knowles likes to do, so they exploit that? Or does Jim Knowles knows what Ohio State's going to do, and who wins this battle of Jim Knowles, basically?
Oh, I could see it just being a barn burner in one of the 2 directions too. I could even, like, normally, you know, they keep it close, but if Knowles goes in there and just and vice versa, if Ohio State goes in there and exploits him or Knowles exploits them, oh my gosh, this could be he's sitting here popping the champagne in the second quarter.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest questions about the season is what happens in an Ohio State game when Jim Knowles going back to Columbus. Who wins that, you know?
Oh, and it's in Columbus too, so there'll be no love lost there.
Yeah, like, I haven't done like enough research to know, like, if your defensive coordinator, who wins that battle, you know, of, okay, he knows what the offense wants to do, but they know what he likes to do. Like, I'm sure there's stats out there that say it goes this way more than the other way.
Being a Raiders fan, I do have a little experience with this in a Super Bowl when we literally traded John Gruden to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and then met him in the Super Bowl and got dog walked.
Well,
so let's hope.
Let's hope Jim Knowles is John Gruden at this point. Then.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And we're gonna go ahead and cross our fingers on that one because I've only seen it happen from the other perspective. You know, keeping the defense, losing the coach. So I think if you're able to exploit it's going to be. But I'm also more curious to see just in that type of perspective which gets more exploited, the offense or the defense. Because I don't know. I do think we talked about him working pretty close side by side with the offense too to learn. So I'm curious who of the 2 sides would win that battle outright.
Yeah. Like, how much improvement do we see where Penn State's offense actually shows up against Ohio State? Because Jim Knowles is helping Colton Nickey with his scheme and with his game planning because he knows what Ohio State has.
I think that would definitely be a big indicator of what I think it's adding such a big weapon to the team that's not even on the field, which I'm so crazy. I couldn't believe this. I did a little research earlier, and the only reason that Knowles didn't stay with Ohio State is they didn't offer him an extension.
Yeah. He wanted one before the Notre Dame, before the national championship. He wanted to be extended, and they wanted to wait, and he kind of took that as well. He took it, and I mean, what's nice, he's coming back home of sorts. You know, he's a Philly guy. Grew up watching Penn State football, so that's always like a cool feature of this too. Is like he's coming back home per se.
It is like it is, not, but it's at the same time it gets me thinking. Okay, well, what does Ohio State have for their defensive coordinator? Who's like, what are they cooking up over there that they could just take a literal national championship defensive coordinator and go, nah, we're good.
Right. Like they brought in what, Matt Patricia?
I think so.
Who wasn't very good at Detroit.
No.
One of those Belichick guys that haven't been good without Belichick.
No, and that's why it's almost a bit of a head scratcher to see what their plan is. And I mean, just on paper, looking at both teams right now, I mean, I feel a lot more confident with where Penn State's direction's going than where Ohio State's direction's going.
Yeah. And with Jim
But I'm
Knowles,
sure there's Ohio State fans. I'm sure there's Ohio State fans who will say the complete opposite of that.
Right. They're gonna say, well, they'll say that he didn't get along with the assistant coaches and didn't get along with Ryan Day.
Toxic locker room environment.
What I like is, I mean, if you look at our defense and look at Ohio State's defense last year, I think Penn State has the better defensive line than they had last year at Ohio State. I think you got better corners. I think Ohio State had the advantage at safety because they had Caleb Downs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look, I think this defense could be better than Ohio State's defense last year.
And literally, it's not. I mean, not saying that they haven't been great, but the defensive line is going to carry this. This is going to be the anchor of this team this year. I think there's two first-team All-Americans sitting on that line right there. Easy.
Yeah. And what Jim Knowles was known for until kind of this last season at Ohio State was pressure and sacks. When his last year at Oklahoma State, they were top 5 in sacks. And you're bringing in him to where you got DDS, Zane Durant, Zry Fisher. Like, there's a stable of guys on the defensive line that can get after the quarterback. Do we see because last year we didn't have that many sacks really.
Nothing that like shot out. I mean, Abdul Carter had 8, which is almost just under a sack a game in the regular season. But then, I mean, nobody else really came around. Like, we were not known for sacks, is what I'm trying to say.
We got pressure, which, is important, but we didn't finish. Which was different than when we had Manny Diaz.
Right.
When Manny Diaz was defense coordinator, that defense was chaos. Just straight chaos. And was finishing the job. Tom Allen seemed a little bit more conservative, I think. So we didn't get as many sacks, but we got the pressure.
Not as much.
Be a good.
Not as much flying around on the ball as much. It was more straight line, stay in your lane, and make them make the mistake, as opposed to don't go and doing too much, and then you going and making the mistake.
Yeah. Like I'm excited to see what this looks like in our big games against Oregon, against Ohio State, and in the playoffs.
Yep.
Because if there was one thing Tom Allen was great at, it was giving up that first drive touchdown. Like, it was infuriating. He was really good at giving up that first drive touchdown.
Okay. All right, got it now.
Like, when he went to Clemson, when he announced he was going to Clemson, that was one of the things I commented on people's posts. Was like, get used to giving up that first drive touchdown, because it's going to happen.
Oh, man. With that being said, though, with Knowles' defense, so last year we averaged 16.5 points per game. That was the average last year. Now, I want to ask you, what do you think? Over, under 16.5 this season?
I think if you look at the schedule, I think they could get under that. Because if you look at the schedule, the only offenses that jump out at you is Oregon, who's breaking in a new quarterback and lost their top wide receiver, and Ohio State, which breaking in a new quarterback. Of course, you get Ohio State later in the year, so they won't be necessarily breaking in the quarterback then.
And who have an unbelievable wide receiver.
Right. But if you look at our schedule, I think for the most part you could almost cruise control in 17, give up 17 if cruise control for most of the games.
Yep. Bring that down to about 15, I think, maybe a little 14.5. I wouldn't be mad at 2 touchdowns a game.
Pad the stats with the first 3 games.
Really scale it for you there.
Right. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy to say, depending on how crazy Penn State wants to get with it and how deep they want to get into the roster and get guys in, because those first 3 games are going to be big for getting people in the games. Where, the last 2 years we started off with West Virginia, won both games handily, but had to stick a lot more to the starters than they probably will this year.
I am curious about that because this is something that James Franklin, I feel like he kind of like one year you'll see him play a bunch of underclassmen, a bunch of backups. Another year he sticks to the starters. So I've never really seen a clear idea of what he wants to do with that. I don't know if he's going to stay last year kind of where he really stuck to the starters, or I think it was 2 years ago. I mean, it was running back by committee. Everything was basically by committee.
I think that's one of the good values that Franklin brings is he's going to read the team. And if he's got young guys that he know can play, he's going to get them in. But if he knows they're not ready, he's not going to bring them in unless they're ready.
Right.
So I think that's one of his better features is he's not going to force guys in. And he's also not, if he doesn't have to, he's not going to ride his guys into the ground.
I like that. That's I'm curious just to see in those first 3 weeks here. I personally like it when we get non-starters in there. I like it too. I like everybody to get reps. I think that's the best way to make your team better is more reps by more people.
Yeah, and we're kind of making fun of the first 3 games of the season. I mean, that's going to be huge for getting the young guys in because there's nothing more valuable than real game reps.
Exactly.
Because after those first 3 games, you look at the schedule, you're going to go you get Oregon after that, which that's going to be a knock 'em out, drag 'em out fight.
Yep.
Then you go out to UCLA, which going out west, anything can happen, as we learned last year.
And if that's a noon game, that'll be interesting because if that's a noon game, that will be everything's earlier on the a lot of people don't realize the West Coast is, noon there is 9 a.m. here. So your game is starting at 9 a.m.
Right. And then you get Northwestern, which that should be another game where you can get your depth in.
That Northwestern team scares me every single year. That team is a bracket buster. I don't care what trap game. Absolute trap game.
It could be because Iowa's next. Which if they ever find a quarterback.
If.
Then you got Ohio State, Indiana, which is good. So that's probably the toughest stretch of the schedule right there.
Oh yeah.
Iowa, Ohio State, Indiana. You get a bye week in between Iowa and Ohio State. So you get those 3 games in 4 weeks. That's probably that's the toughest stretch. Because then you get Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers.
Okay.
Finish the season.
Now, Nebraska can be another one where you never know each year with them.
If they can finally take that next step and get there. Nebraska's always scary, but
that is a brutal stretch right there. Wow.
It's got to be the scariest stretch of the season for sure.
Oh man.
But at the same time, you're more talented than two of those three.
Should have the wheels turning by then too. Should definitely.
Right. The only team you look at on this schedule, well, Oregon and Ohio State, the only two teams that you're comparable with talent. Everywhere else, you got to step up in talent.
Yeah, but talent and mentality are two completely different things. So, I mean,
talent still got to show up.
And is Coach Franklin going to show up?
Right. And I mean, one thing I've seen on, especially Twitter lately is I think Penn State fans almost have, I don't want to say like a PTSD, but Penn State fans have a condition to where
it's an irrational fear.
Yeah. It's an irrational fear that it can never be good. Penn State is never the cocky fan that thinks they're going to win.
Oh no, there's always that oh no moment. When it's just not if, it's when.
Yeah. And I'd really like to change that this year.
It'd make my heart would appreciate it. My blood pressure would definitely appreciate it.
Like I can't imagine what Penn State fans would turn into if we do win a natty this year.
I mean, you saw what happens when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I mean, we all saw that. So
right.
I would say it would be something along those lines.
Yeah. Like I think it goes along with, you'd see the fan base get a lot more annoying.
Well, talk about a monkey finally getting off the back too.
Right.
It's just always been so close, and then just coming up short.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one thing that James Franklin has talked about a few times, where he wants to be the first African-American head coach to win a national title for college football. It seems crazy that there hasn't been one.
That just registered in my brain. What?
Yeah. Like he's done interviews before. He's said it multiple times. And if you look at the landscape, it's basically him and Marcus Freeman right now for it.
And Notre Dame will never win a national championship. I'm sorry. Notre Dame will never win a national championship.
Touchdown Jesus isn't going to bring it home for him.
I just don't. You look at every single year. I look at their O-line and go, no, you're not bringing in the right guy. You're not bringing in the big boys, and that's where they get creamed every year. They do fine in non-conference because they're independent. As soon as they go to the playoffs and play anything that's more than a top 5, they just get train wrecked.
Yeah, and I will go to the grave thinking we were the better team in that Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I just don't. I think it's just the ball. Once again, it's going to come down to those big moments, or we need to take the next step.
The irrational fear hit when Cam Miller fell over his own feet.
Yep, there it is.
And then Jalen Reed slipped and fell too, so we just gave up the 60-yard touchdown to the receivers that weren't.
Those are your touchdown Jesus moments right there. That's where touchdown Jesus came and helped them,
And then Drew makes a boneheaded throw with a minute left in the game that he hasn't made in his entire career. Like people want to talk about like all the times like Franklin's lost to Ohio State and Michigan and some of those heartbreaks, but we never felt like we were the better. It doesn't often feel like we were the better team in those games.
No, I get what you're saying.
Like the Notre Dame game felt like we were the better team.
Yeah. And it just sometimes you eat the bear and sometimes the bear eats you.
Yeah, so I mean I think I really wish we could get as a fan base to a point where we can be the cocky, loud fan instead of like Hey, we're over here.
Just sitting there watching the game going, what's going to happen next? This could be the year, though. This could be the year.
It's James Franklin's best team, I think. In his 12 years of being the head coach, I think this is his best chance and his best team.
I would agree 100%. This is going to be, I mean, and you know what? Maybe, like you said, maybe this year, maybe they come out and they just come out guns blazing, ready to go.
Yeah, I think we'll know come September 27th about midnight.
53 days till football.
Yeah, it cannot get here soon enough. So we can actually talk ball, what happened, what's going to happen, instead of all this forecasting where nobody knows anything.
Whataboutisms and what if-isms. That's all they are.
Yeah, like let's play some football.
Yeah. Let's just get these boys on the field and see what happens at the end of the day. You never know.
Fall camp's going to start up soon, and then it's really going to get going.
That's when I'm going to start feel that little tingle in the back of my head going, oh, it's almost here.
You start hearing Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler in the back of your head.
Yep. Pat McAfee jumping around.
We're not going to mention the big noon guys because they've ruined too much for us.
No, I can't. Who? Yeah, who?
Right. But yeah, I think that'll do it for us this episode. Give you a little look at the defense, and I'll come back at you Friday with some new stuff and look to grow this community and grow the show.
Keep it one step forward, left foot, right foot, boys and girls. We're almost there. It's only going to get better, I promise.
Right. It's not getting farther away, that's for sure.
Yep, we're getting closer, inch by inch. But
all right, we'll see all you guys Friday at 9:30 as we, continue to be the nightcap on the Voice of College Football.
Love it, guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much.